At some point, all of us feel like nobody loves us, or we don't have any friends, or we're all alone. And I'm going to tell you a story about a man who felt that way every single day. But he realized he was wrong, just as all of us should feel, or should realize when we feel that way. So this is Somebody Loves You, Mr. Hatch, by Eileen Spinelli, retold by Heaven McGuire. Mr. Hatch never smiled, ever. Every day he would wake up and put on his gray coat, his gray tie, leave his house at precisely 6:30 in the morning, and walk 8 blocks to work at the shoelace factory. Every day at work, he ate lunch by himself in the back corner of the room, his cheese sandwich and a cup of coffee. Sometimes he would bring a prune for dessert. After work, he made 2 stops on the way home. He stopped once at the grocery store for a fresh turkey leg from Mr. Todd, and then another time at the newspaper stand. He would get home, eat dinner, read the newspaper, and go to sleep early. This happened every day. If you were to ask the people in the neighborhood what they thought of Mr. Hatch, they would all say the same thing. Mr. Hatch keeps to himself. One morning was different, however. Mr. Hatch took his broom and his dustpan, and he went outside, started sweeping. And then he saw something he never sees in his yard: a visitor. He saw Mr. Goober, the mailman, carrying a huge box. "Mr. Hatch, delivery for you." "For me? A delivery? Okay." So Mr. Hatch took the box and went inside, and he was quite confused because he had never gotten mail in his life. But he opened the box to reveal another box inside. And he got this box, and he opened this one, and there was another box. But this one was extra special because it was bright red, and it had a pink ribbon around it, and it was shaped like a heart. Mr. Hatch opened this box to reveal chocolates inside, and he noticed a little white card on the ground that he dropped. "Somebody loves you." Mr. Hatch realized it was Valentine's Day. He tried to ignore it and go on with his regular routine. He started cleaning and dusting, but every time he left the room, he couldn't stop thinking about this box. He would peek around the corner to check if it was still there, and it was. And he started dusting and dusting, but the dust cloth seemed to whisper to him, "Somebody loves you. Somebody loves you." Finally, Mr. Hatch threw the dust cloth on the ground. "Why, I have a secret admirer." He started dancing and clapping, and he did something he had never done before. "Ha ha ha!" He laughed. "Ha ha ha ha! Somebody loves me." He started baking brownies, and then he heard a knock at his door. There were 5 little children standing in front of him. "Mr. Hatch, can we have some brownies? They smell delicious." "Come on in." And then he heard another knock. And there were 5 parents of the children standing in front of him. So he invited them in. And then there was another knock, and he invited all of the friends of the parents in. And soon there was this giant party at Mr. Hatch's house, and he had never talked to any of them. But they were all laughing and eating brownies and smiling, and Mr. Hatch even pulled out his old harmonica and played a beautiful song for them. And they were all having so much fun. And then the next day, Mr. Hatch woke up, and he put on an old bright yellow tie that he had never worn before, and walked to work, smiling all the way. Everyone saw him smiling, and they were so confused. The man painting the side of the building nearly fell off his ladder, and the woman almost tripped over her dog. But Mr. Hatch simply waved, "Hello." He got to work, and at lunch, he sat by everyone. He was laughing and talking, and they were all beginning to love Mr. Hatch. After work, Mr. Hatch stopped by the newsstand as always, but he noticed that Mr. Smith was looking a little bit worried. "Mr. Smith, what's wrong with you?" "You see, my daughter, I have lost her, little Melanie Smith, and I don't know where she's at, but I can't leave my newsstand." "You don't need to worry about that. I'll go find little Melanie Smith." So he found her, and he brought her to Mr. Smith, and they were both so grateful for him. So the weeks went by, and then the months went by, and Mr. Hatch was always happy. When he wasn't smiling, he was laughing. When he wasn't laughing, he was having a party at his house. And when he wasn't doing any of that, he was helping somebody. and everybody loved Mr. Hatch. One day, Mr. Hatch was sweeping his porch, because he hadn't done that in a really long time with his new busy schedule, and he saw Mr. Goober, the mailman, again. "Well, hello, Mr. Goober. How are you doing?" I have something to tell you." "You look upset. What's wrong?" "I am upset. You see, do you still have that package I delivered to you? I delivered it by accident, and it was supposed to go to someone else, and my supervisor is very upset with me." "Well, I still have it, but the chocolates are gone, but here you go." When Mr. Goober walked and started leaping away, Mr. Hatch realized that he had forgotten something. "Wait, Mr. Goober, wait up. I have something else." And he pulled out a little white note card that said, "Somebody loves you," and he gave it back to the mailman. The next day, Mr. Hatch woke up, and he put on his gray suit, left his house at exactly 6:30, walked 8 blocks to the shoelace factory, ate lunch by himself, went home, and went to bed early. And he did this for a few days, and the neighbors started talking. "What's wrong with Mr. Hatch?" "I don't know. He was so happy before. Why is he so sad?" And finally, Mr. Goober told all of them what had happened with the package that he had misdelivered. And Mr. Goober had an idea on how to fix it. So Mr. Hatch the next day walked out, sweeping and sweeping his yard, and he didn't even realize that there were people outside until he heard a noise. And he looked up, and there was a huge crowd of all these happy, smiling people, and there were hearts hanging everywhere from his porch. And there was a huge sign, and it said, "Everybody loves you, Mr. Hatch." He was so happy, and he pulled out his handkerchief. "I suppose somebody loves me after all."